So this morning, the New York Yankees made the announcement that they have sold a piece of their franchise to private equity, becoming the latest in a long line of professional sports teams that have chosen to go that route to infuse capital. But this influx of money doesn't always lead to more success or even more spending for those franchises. Sports is a massive business. But are there pitfalls to be worried about when it comes to how much private equity is now owning not just pro sports, but college sports as well? We'll get into that today. We'll take a look at a couple of wild moments last night in Major League Baseball. Our team of the day, the LA Chargers. Is it Justin Herbert's year in LA? Lots to get to on a Tuesday. This is Pushing the Odds.
It's time! And now, introducing your host, fighting out of Las Vegas, Nevada, by way of Boston, Massachusetts, presenting live from the world-famous Las Vegas Strip, it's Pushing the Odds.
For guys like me, Las Vegas washes away your sins. It's like a morality car wash. Back home, they would have put me in jail for what I'm doing. But out here, they're giving me awards.
Here he is, Matt Perrault.
Enjoy the show. Enjoy the show. Enjoy the show. Enjoy the show.
What's up, Brigade? How are you? Welcome into a Tuesday episode of Pushing the Odds with Matt Perrault. It's being brought to you by Betcris Arizona. We're into that point of the season, of the summer, where baseball is just a grind. It's game in and game out, game in and game out. We have preseason football on Thursday, but it's practice and no real high-profile players will play much in the first preseason game, if at all, here in the preseason. So we are counting down to the start of the college football season in week 0. And frankly, we're several weeks away from that. So we get some time here to talk about things that we don't normally talk about here on the program. And that's private equity, because of what happened this morning with the New York Yankees becoming the latest major high profile, top of the heap type of franchise with a brand that is international, to take on private equity, to take a big influx of money. The Hal Steinbrenner-led family will still maintain control of the Yankees, but it's the latest in what has been a very wild march to take on more and more private equity money across professional sports. And there are fallouts. There are very instrumental moves that are happening because of private equity. Jaylen Brown is a Sixer because of what the Boston Celtics did with private equity and not wanting to have a massive ticket on two different players. You can't say it's not going to impact your team. It could very well impact your team. So we'll get to that during the opening line. Team of the day is the LA Chargers. When he's not canoodling and getting engaged to Madison Beer, who now football fans have to pay attention to. Is she Taylor Swift 2.0? I don't know, maybe. But Justin Herbert's got a big year ahead of him. Their win total is lower than other teams that have similar odds to win it all, which is really interesting. Shows you how difficult the division could be for the LA Chargers coming up this season. They're our team of the day. We will also jump down the rabbit hole to talk about a very rare rule that was used last night for the Boston Red Sox and the Toronto Blue Jays, in which there were 4 outs, not like made up, 4 outs were allowed to be recorded during an inning between the Blue Jays and the Red Sox. Blue Jays won the game 2-1. It was the only run the Red Sox scored, but it was sort of like, oh, wait, what? How do you get 4 outs during an inning? That did happen, and it wasn't from like a dropped strike call. It was from a guy not tagging up and then scoring. I'll explain if you missed the play. It's a very weird situation that we will get into it coming up. I will give you the answer for the Circa Million entry. I made a mistake. I wasn't as specific as I should have been. I'll explain. There's a couple of answers that I accepted. I wanted one specific answer, but if you gave me another one, I'm going to count it. I'll explain here in a second. Once we're going to be down to, I think, 4 contestants after today. So we are getting down to it, to who is going to be with me for my entry into the Circa Millions contest. So stick around for the answer for that. We will talk some teams. I hit my prop bet of the day yesterday. Let's see if I can hit my prop bet of the day today. See if we can start off 2-0 for the week coming up here for today. By the way, you got to give a ruling on this hat. Okay. Do we like it? Here is what has to change in my opinion. Okay. That's got to change. I like the O. I don't like the microphone because the microphone doesn't look like a microphone and I can't unsee it. So now you have to see it because I can't unsee it. I'm not going to say what it looks like, but I can't unsee it now that I saw it. So we've got to change that. The shading here is what has to happen. This is the Raider model of PTO, okay? We've got to figure out a way to incorporate this in a little different way, okay? We got to change the O because that doesn't look like what it's a microphone. It didn't hit me until about, I don't know, an hour ago, okay? Like an hour ago, I saw it and I was like, oh my gosh. Yep, Corbin, if you're watching this show today, dude, we got to undo that. We have to undo that. It from up close, when you look at the microphone, when you look at it like when you're holding the hat, it doesn't look like that. But from a distance, yikes. like, oh my gosh. It's like, hold on a second. We got to fix that. So we're going to try to unsee this because again, if I had to see it, you had to see it. So we're going to undo this. And then we're going to have this changed. The shading will be changed a little bit, but the idea is to have the hat look like that. So we'll figure this out. We'll get this fixed, but this is going to be kind of like the test model when the store goes live because pushingtheodds.com is almost done. You can go to it if you want right now to check it out today, later, whatever. There are 2 articles up from a kid that I'll talk about. My favorite thing about today. This kid won't leave my ass alone. Like he's all over me. Like literally like every single day he has sent me article after article after article. I said on the air, I was looking for people to write articles. This kid has written for Yahoo before and written for other things. And like, he's just like, I'm going to give you so much content. You can do whatever the hell you want with it. So there are 2 articles up, one on the Chiefs and one on, I'm forgetting the other team that he wrote about. That we put up. It's 2 NFL football future stories that are up right now. Plus there's a welcome article that I wrote for you guys in the brigade as to what you're going to see on pushingtheodds.com. So that is up. I was hoping we're having some issues with the pictures. So that's why I didn't do like a big, huge announcement on it. And it's starting to bother me because I can't get the images to load properly. And the guy who's working on the website is having some trouble. So we're trying to figure out the actual like layout and how it's going to look with pictures on the website. So right now it's just like popping up as PTO logos for all the stories, but the articles are going to be up there. I'm going to try to write more. I'm going to try to have kind of like a Bill Simmons type blog rolling throughout the week on a variety of things. So I'm going to try to give you guys more content. I'm going to try to give you guys more opportunities to interact with each other, not just on the Discord channel, but just, having a website home for the brigade is the idea for pushingtheodds.com. So that is up. You can go to it. You can read the articles. I just apologize that it doesn't look as clean as I wanted it to at the moment. And hopefully we'll get more pictures and fun stuff to come up for that. So I'm loving the chat, by the way. You guys are hysterical. I can't put up half the stuff, but there are some really good things about the hat that I'm laughing my ass off inside that when we get to bonus time, I'll talk more about it, but I can't talk about it right now because we're on SportsGrid. Let's do the opening line. Let's talk about private equity and the potential pitfalls and dangers with all this money coming into pro sports. All right, opening line. The Yankees sold a piece of their franchise today to a private equity firm, and it's going to give them a huge influx of money.
For me, Ohtani is the MVP, even if he pitches 15 games a year and that's it. The guy's the best hitter in baseball, or one of them, and pitches, even if it's 15 games a year and he's great, sign me up. I think he still wins, but I think I like the other investments there.
Yeah, I would say we're in total agreement on this. Ohtani's going to win the award, but that doesn't mean that A, he's a good investment at this point, and B, another player isn't a good investment.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
What Michigan have to play versus Penn State is insane. Like, instead of Big Ten teams worrying about SEC and all that, like, Michigan fans should not be happy about what Matt Campbell gets to walk into. James Franklin's got to be kicking himself. Penn State do not play Oregon, Indiana, or Ohio State. They avoided the entire Big Three of the it's incredible.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
You know, the dark days are ahead for the Warriors. And when Curry and Kerr and Draymond all leave, what are we going to be looking at that franchise that has been a mainstay of the NBA, you know, the face of the NBA and NBA playoffs for so long? Where are they going to be? So I see no issue with them bringing Draymond back. Why not? You have one last go at things with the trio that they still have there. But I see this as a very long season.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Just can't win the big game. He can't get us in the big game. Well, we got to let him go now because we're tired. We'll keep the quarterback. So, you know what I've been saying? Okay, you kept the quarterback. Guess what? Mr. Lamar Jackson, it's on you now.
Hey,
It's on you.
Absolutely.
Right? It's on Lamar.
It is. It is totally on him now and the new coaching staff there.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
My only experience with private equity from a macro perspective is when I lived in Las Vegas for 11 years. And I can tell you that the influx of private equity in Las Vegas is not a good thing. It has been the main culprit for the lack of customer support, satisfaction, customer relations that the city has been known for since its inception. Vegas was always a place with a handshake and a smile. Vegas was always a place where you would tip with cash. Vegas was a place where you would go and get comped. You'd get drinks. You play tickets. You play slots for an hour and they give you a drink. You go and spend a bunch of money, on a buffet and hang out and with your friends and wife, girlfriend, whatever. Private equity has created an environment where that doesn't happen anymore. Private equity is involved in almost every aspect of Vegas, but it's the nickel and diming of Vegas that has caused people to withdraw from the city. It's why the regional casino is doing so well while Las Vegas is suffering, because people can get a similar experience down the road, an hour down the road or 2 hours down the road than what they get by getting on an airplane and flying 3 to 4 hours. Vegas is no longer a place where everyone knows your name, where you get your favorite booth and your favorite server. That doesn't happen anymore. It's about turnover and robot everything, robot check-in, robot bartending. That's all from private equity, trying to squeeze out every dime possible and not about a human experience. Private equity in sports, this was a year ago. And the MLB, NBA, NHL have taken on way more private equity money than the NFL, mostly because the NFL, the guys who have all the money, already own NFL teams. So they don't need to go take on any extra money. They already are in there. They already have control over the NFL. But a year ago, that's where we are. It has only gone up in terms of the overall numbers of teams that have been purchased or bought into with private equity. The Yankees become the latest marquee franchise with a global brand to take on private equity. This is not a small amount of money. This is $2.6 billion. These guys aren't just giving the Yankees the money for fun. There's going to be an impact. There's a lot of fear. as to what happens when you take on private equity. The owners, look, we've seen it in Vegas. This is about ticket prices. Owners get ripped all the time, but we don't know who these guys are. We've seen it with the Celtics and Jaylen Brown and the private equity firm that has bought into the Celtics and the fact that they are being blamed for trading Jaylen Brown. And while the owners and while everyone in Boston is trying to claim that Jaylen Brown was traded for basketball reasons, the underlying conversation is all about spending cuts. It's all about lowering payroll and not overpaying for players and maximizing opportunity from a business perspective. Do you trade Jaylen Brown for Paul George if you're trying to win a championship? I don't think most basketball people would agree with that. Now, you can say there's going to be other moves in the future and that freeing up that capital enables Brad Stevens, the GM, to go make other trades and moves so Boston can be competitive over a long term. But if you're trying to win a championship this year with Jason Tatum in 26-27, you don't trade Jaylen Brown. You just don't. Like, it's anybody who's playing a video game would have rejected that trade. If you went and played in, 2K and you're like, hey, I want to trade you Paul George for Jaylen Brown, you'd be like, get out of here. Like, what are you talking about? Well, they did it. And the reason is money. And it becomes another example of how money is dictating what these franchises are doing because the salaries are getting to be so out of whack. $100, $200, $300 million. And now the Yankees are right into the same conversation as so many other high-profile teams. The Celtics, just talked about them. The Red Sox and the Penguins are run by Fenway Sports Group, which is backed by Redbird Capital. Redbird Capital also backs AC Milan. The Warriors have multiple minority stakeholders who are in the private equity fund. Chelsea FC in the Premier League and a number of other Formula One, global soccer, all being backed by private equity. I'm not saying that money in sports is bad, okay? Money in sports has always been there. But what is changing is the idea that a sports team is supposed to be a profit center. When I grew up, if you owned a team, a sports team, a major sports team, a Dallas Cowboys, if you will, like Jerry Jones or George Steinbrenner when he ran the Yankees, this was about one thing and one thing only. I am rich as hell and I want to win. I've won at everything else in my life. I want to win. Mark Cuban of the Dallas Mavericks. I have sold my rights, $1 billion to all these companies, broadcast.com being the first one. I want to win. So I'm going to sit there as a fan and I'm going to win because I'm going to spend the money to win. I don't care about the bottom line. I don't care about how much money I'm making for my partners. I want to win. Robert Kraft owns the Patriots, owner of Gillette, massive shaving company, right? Everyone, when I was growing up, everyone used Gillette. That was the gold standard. So when you learn how to shave, you shaved with the Gillette, okay? He wants to win. So he goes and spends. He acquires coaches. He acquires players. He spends the money to win, and he's won 6 championships. Like, he's played for 9, now 10 Super Bowls. He's 6-4. If we want sports to continue to have the soul that we actually have grown up with, I think private equity is AI. It is soulless, faceless, nameless. And the more that we get into AI, the more that our society is driven by robots. Private equity, it's not robotic, but it's pretty damn close to being robotic because the whole goal of private equity is to make money. Sports is not supposed to be fundamentally about that. Yes. Is it very profitable to be a sports team? Yes. Is it profitable to own a very successful sports team? It can be, yes. But the ultimate goal of a sports team is to win, not have a balance sheet that's impressive, that makes people go, oh my gosh, look at how much money this team made. The fan is being asked to spend more and more money to be a part of a fan base, whether it be paying for platforms to watch the game, whether it be higher and higher prices for hats. If we want sports to continue to have the soul that we actually have grown up with, I think private equity is AI. It is soulless, faceless, nameless. And the more that we get into AI, the more that our society is driven by robots. Private equity, it's not robotic, but it's pretty damn close to being robotic because the whole goal of private equity is to make money. Sports is not supposed to be fundamentally about that. Yes, is it very profitable to be a sports team? Yes. Is it profitable to own a very successful sports team? It can be, yes. But the ultimate goal of a sports team is to win, not have a balance sheet that's impressive, that makes people go, oh my gosh, look at how much money this team made. The fan is being asked to spend more and more money to be a part of a fan base, whether it be paying for platforms to watch the game, whether it be higher and higher prices for hats. Here in New England, and I know I'm moving from a relatively inexpensive place to live because of what, Boston versus Las Vegas is very different in terms of cost. Everything in Boston's like 10% cheap, more expensive. And it's really weird. So like a hat that would be in Las Vegas that would be somewhere around like $35 is $45 here. And it's just all little things. A smoothie that in Vegas would be $6 is $9 here, right? A burger, which in Vegas, if it's $16 in Vegas, it's $22 here in Boston. And it's the little things, right? The little incremental raises that get you. And that's what's going on in sports leagues, in sports teams, in arenas, in parking. It's all just the little incremental things. They're going up, just making it just a little bit more expensive, a little bit more expensive. And so you're starting to see this affect people. Can they afford to go to games? Can they afford to be a fan? And once they go to college, I don't know what happens when this starts to happen in college. And we have seen the Big Ten be approached. We've seen the SEC be approached. Private equity wants to be involved in anything that is making money. And college football makes a ton of money. But how do you bring in private equity? Who gets the money? How does it go? Where does it go? And who's policing it is the question. And for the most part, private equity has been kept at bay from sports in college. But that is only a temporary thing. They're going to get involved. And up to this point, there hasn't been checks and balances on what private equity should be involved and how they should be involved in sports. But it is frustrating because ultimately, sports are a business. Sports radio, sports talk shows, sports podcasts, sports TV shows. The only reason why we have these things, the only reason why, is because it is profitable. And I was taught that at a very young age, that, hey, sports is about making money. It's not about revenue. It's not about overall audience size. It's about what you're taking home at the end of the day. Is it profitable? If it is, great. That's why we're here. We don't care about your prestige. We don't care about your star power. We don't care about what free lunches you're getting. It doesn't matter. I've told the story before. Bill Donovan famously sat me down in his office one day and told me, I don't care if you have 1 million listeners to your radio show. If you're billing 0, you're out. If you have 0 audience and you're billing $1 million, you'll have a job here for as long as you want. Didn't matter how the audience was perceiving me. Didn't matter how the audience was absorbing or finding the content. All that mattered is that there were people who wanted to sponsor the content that you were doing. Private equity is pushing that all the way through sports. It's one thing to be a shoulder type of industry, which is what the media is to a sports league. But to have that same mentality then be pushed into sports, and what we care about is money and making money, and that's it. That's not a good place. And it feels like the more of these brands, I mean, the Hal Steinbrenner-led New York Yankees took private equity money. They need money. The Yankees are cash strapped. The Boston Celtics are cash strapped. What? How is that even possible? Well, how it's possible is that somebody's trying to give you a Brinks truck and you're not going to say no to it because do I have to do anything? No, just give me a seat on the board. What are you going to do with it? Nothing. I just want to sit there and be a part of it. Oh, really? Yeah. Hell, you run it all, man. All until the next trade deadline, if we have one next summer, and the board has a new guy who raises his hand and says, hey, how much does that guy make? $400 million. Really? We sure we want to do that? He's 32 years old. He's going to be kind of, at the end of his contract, he's going to be 36. I don't know if it's a good use of our money. And you're like, who's that guy?
For me, Ohtani is the MVP, even if he pitches 15 games a year and that's it. The guy's the best hitter in baseball, or one of them, and pitches, even if it's 15 games a year and he's great, sign me up. I think he still wins, but I think I like the other investments there.
Yeah, I would say we're in total agreement on this. Ohtani's going to win the award, but that doesn't mean that A, he's a good investment at this point, and B, another player isn't a good investment.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
What Michigan have to play versus Penn State is insane. Like, instead of Big Ten teams worrying about SEC and all that, like, Michigan fans should not be happy about what Matt Campbell gets to walk into. James Franklin's got to be kicking himself. Penn State do not play Oregon, Indiana, or Ohio State. They avoided the entire Big Three of the it's incredible.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
You know, the dark days are ahead for the Warriors. And when Curry and Kerr and Draymond all leave, what are we going to be looking at that franchise that has been a mainstay of the NBA, you know, the face of the NBA and NBA playoffs for so long? Where are they going to be? So I see no issue with them bringing Draymond back. Why not? You have one last go at things with the trio that they still have there. But I see this as a very long season.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Just can't win the big game. He can't get us in the big game. Well, we got to let him go now because we're tired. We'll keep the quarterback. So, you know what I've been saying? Okay, you kept the quarterback. Guess what? Mr. Lamar Jackson, it's on you now.
Hey,
It's on you.
Absolutely.
Right? It's on Lamar.
It is. It is totally on him now and the new coaching staff there.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
All right, what happened last night? The NBA told us, or today, I guess you could say, the NBA told us what we're going to be doing for the tip-off of the NBA season. The Boston Celtics are tipping off against the Pistons on NBC at 3 p.m. Is Tuesday, October 20th, a holiday that I didn't know about? Like, do they think people don't work in Detroit? Hey, by the way, look, if that's a holiday, tell me if I'm missing that, but I've been trying to figure out, is that a holiday? Is October 20th an actual holiday? Why are we playing basketball at 3 o'clock Eastern time on Tuesday, October the 20th? The Sixers go to the Knicks. LeBron James gets prime time against the New York Knicks. It is ring ceremony night. It is banner night. It is a monster audience. And then we get the Thunder and the Spurs. A rematch of the Western Conference Finals will happen. That's a hell of a triple header. I mean, that's to tip off the NBA. That's awesome. Like that's just tremendous. I don't get why we're playing a 3 o'clock start time. Like that doesn't make any sense at all. I don't get that. Why are we doing that? But okay, there's your tip off. Your first 3 games of the year. The Celtics out of the gate without Jaylen Brown, the Pistons, who are going to be a formidable team in the East this year, and then you get LeBron's first game with the Sixers on the road at MSG in what's going to be a massive deal. Oh, is that game in Detroit or overseas? Is that game overseas? Hold on. I didn't think that game was overseas. I could be, maybe that's why it's 3 o'clock. Let me see. No, the Boston Celtics open up a triple header on NBC in a rare matinee start. Nah, that game's in overseas. That game's in Detroit. I don't understand. I don't get it. I guess they want to take over the whole day. I don't know why October 20th is now what we're going to do, but it is banner night for it's banner night. According to Google, there's a charcuterie workshop near me that day. I don't think it impacts NBA scheduling though. No, Sonic, sorry. I don't think that impacts it. But I don't know what October 20th is, but that's your start to the NBA season. That is your NBA tip-off. Celtics, Pistons, Sixers, Knicks, Thunder, Spurs on Tuesday, October the 20th to bring back the NBA. 3 o'clock Eastern. I don't get why, but okay. Like that's a noon Pacific time start. For you guys on the West Coast, that's a hell of a day. That's basically noon till 10. Nothing but NBA basketball to watch on Tuesday, October the 20th. I don't hate the time. It just feels weird that we're doing that. But the Sixers and the Spurs is going to be unbelievable. Now, the NBA also announced that we are going to have a ridiculous Christmas. Okay. If you have a family, which I'm assuming most of you do, and most of you are going to hang out with your family, how many TVs do we need? Look at this. Look at Christmas Day. Look at the NFL. We have the Spurs against the Knicks, a rematch of the NBA Finals on Christmas Day. We have the 76ers against the Lakers. That is LeBron's first trip to LA to play his former team. The Thunder play the Timberwolves, which is a hell of a game. And we have the Nuggets and the Warriors with Jokic up against Steph Curry. I mean, wow. The NBA is not messing around. They're pissed off that the NFL is trying to take their Christmas Day schedule slate. But look at the schedule for the NFL. Texans Eagles on Christmas Eve is ridiculous. Packers, Bears, Bills, Broncos, Rams, Seahawks on Christmas Day. How many TVs do we need on Christmas Day? Like, we're not moving on Christmas, right? Like, I've already sent that to Amanda, and I was like, hey, just FYI, I'm out. Like, on Christmas Day, I'm out. Don't ask me to do anything. Like that is a ridiculous day of sports. I cannot wait to see what in the world the handle is going to look like on that, because that is one of the best sports days I can ever remember in terms of the Christmas Day slate. Basketball, if you're an NBA fan, if you're an NFL fan, I mean, that is going right up against each other. Spurs, Knicks, Lakers, Sixers, Nuggets, Warriors, combined with Packers, Bears, Bills, Broncos, Rams, and the Seahawks. What? I mean, we get to benefit, right? These two sports leagues, the NBA and the NFL, are fighting for Christmas Day. And for the longest time, it was a respectful thing. And it was like, here, you get Christmas, NBA. It's all you. Thanksgiving, that is a NFL day. Christmas, that's a basketball day. Really, that's when the rollout, a lot of people would say that's when people started to bet the NBA again, started to watch the NBA again, because the NFL season starts to peter out and the NBA starts to take over. No, that is not what's happening anymore. These two leagues are going straight at each other and they're not giving up an inch. The benefit is us as sports fans, because it starts on Christmas Eve. Texans, Eagles is awesome. And then we go into it. I can't wait to see what the ratings are going to be, because to be honest, the NFL tends to trash the NBA when it goes head to head. Like, it's not even a fair fight when they go head to head, but you're giving the NBA a fighting chance. They have a fighting chance with Spurs and the Knicks. Because if you're an East Coast person, right? If you're somebody in Boston, Philly, New York, are you watching Spurs, Knicks, or are you watching Packers, Bears? Like, which one are you watching? I think when it comes to Bills, Broncos, Lakers, and the 76ers, if you're somebody in LA, if you're on the West Coast, I think you may be partial to watching the Lakers and the return of LeBron James. Maybe not watching the Bills and the Broncos. And then the nightcap of the Rams and the Seahawks, you have Nuggets, Warriors, and you've got Rams and the Seahawks. So you have a nightcap West Coast audience, nightcap NBA West Coast audience as well. I think in that situation, with the Rams playing against the defending champions, yeah, forget it. That's going to be football. Football's going to win in a big way. But that's a heck of a ratings fight. I think it's going to be fun to see how it goes, because, I mean, buckle up. Just absolutely buckle up for what should be one of the most epic Christmas days and Christmas Eves into Christmas days that we've ever seen coming up here for a sports fan perspective. I mean, load the bankroll. I mean, get the bankroll nice and healthy on Christmas Day, because there's a lot to fire on with a lot of games to get into coming up for December 25th, 2026. All right, let's reveal the answer to the Circa Millions question. Yesterday, we came up with this puzzle for 6 people who were left. You had to solve this puzzle. The answer to this puzzle was best run differential in MLB. Best run differential in MLB. Who has it and by how much? Here's the problem. And this is, I'm learning. I will say it. I am learning. I didn't say what year. I just assumed you guys would figure out I meant this year. This year, not historically. So I'm going to accept 2 answers on this. The correct answer is the Milwaukee Brewers. By how much? 3. They lead, or going into yesterday's games, they led MLB in run differential by 3. So the correct answer, Milwaukee Brewers. By how much? 3. If you gave me a historic number, if you said the greatest run differential of all time, and by how much, if you answered that, I will accept it only because of semantics. That's my fault. I should have said this year. I should have said right now in 2026, not historic. So Those are the two answers I will accept. By my count, we are down to 4 people. If you got the answer right, I will email you after the show to say congratulations. You are still alive. You've made it to the next round as we march our way to the Ultimate Football Contest weekend, where we'll be live at Circus Sports for the Ultimate Football Contest week.
For me, Ohtani is the MVP, even if he pitches 15 games a year and that's it. The guy's the best hitter in baseball, or one of them, and pitches, even if it's 15 games a year and he's great, sign me up. I think he still wins, but I think I like the other investments there.
Yeah, I would say we're in total agreement on this. Ohtani's going to win the award, but that doesn't mean that A, he's a good investment at this point, and B, another player isn't a good investment.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
What Michigan has to play versus Penn State is insane. Like, instead of Big Ten teams worrying about SEC and all that, like, Michigan fans should not be happy about what Matt Campbell gets to walk into. James Franklin's got to be kicking himself. Penn State do not play Oregon, Indiana, or Ohio State. They avoided the entire Big Three of the it's incredible.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
You know, the dark days are ahead for the Warriors. And when Curry and Kerr and Draymond all leave, what are we going to be looking at that franchise that has been a mainstay of the NBA, you know, the face of the NBA and NBA playoffs for so long? Where are they going to be? So I see no issue with them bringing Draymond back. Why not? You have one last go at things with the trio that they still have there. But I see this as a very long season.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Just can't win the big game. He can't get us in the big game. Well, we got to let him go now because we're tired. We'll keep the quarterback. So, you know what I've been saying? Okay, you kept the quarterback. Guess what? Mr. Lamar Jackson, it's on you now.
Hey,
It's on you.
Absolutely.
Right? It's on Lamar.
It is. It is totally on him now and the new coaching staff there.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
The question is this going to be Justin Herbert's year, given where this offense is, given where the quarterback is in his career? He is newly engaged. He has a lot of attention on him from non-football fans, and this schedule is pretty good. I like this schedule. I don't love where the bye is for the Chargers, okay? But look at the start. They get the Cardinals and the Raiders at home. If you're a Charger fan, you're like, okay, we're 2-0. Now, you're probably going to be 2-2 after your first 4 games because you win your first 2 home games, you lose your first 2 road games. But if you could somehow go and beat the Buffalo Bills or beat the Seahawks, again, I'm not that high on the Seahawks. I think the Seattle Seahawks are going to come back down to earth. I think without Kubiak running that offense, got some questions, there's some injuries there for Seattle. It could be a 3-1 start where you lose to the Bills and you beat the Seahawks. Then the Chargers come back home to play the Broncos and then to Kansas City to open up the season for the first 6 weeks. I think if you're a Charger fan and you're trying to figure out, okay, can we go 4-2 to start the year? I think you would sign up for that every single time. Now you open up 3-3, it's a little bit of a different conversation, a little bit of a different worry there if you open up 3-3. What you don't want to do is open up 2-4. And that would be you win your first 2 games and then you lose the rest until you get to the bye week. Could that happen? 100% that could happen. You obviously don't want that to happen, but that would be one of those situations. If you're a Charger fan, there is a little bit of an up and down situation here for them with what direction they might wind up going. Now, you go after the bye at the Rams. Okay, that's not easy. But after you get through the Texans, it starts to get really, really winnable. Look, we don't know what the Ravens are going to look like, okay? The Ravens have a new head coach. The Ravens could be great, but they might not. It's a hard game on Sunday to take on the Texans, but you're at home. So Rams, Texans, Ravens, really tough. But after that, the run is pretty good. You have an East Coast team at home. East Coast team at home. Jets, Patriots. You're at Tampa, but it's in December. You're at Vegas, but it's in December in a dome. You're home for the 49ers Not a bad time. You should be able to be competitive there. And then you go ahead and go to Miami again in late December. Your last 2 games are going to be difficult. Kansas City and the Broncos, that's not easy, especially at Denver in January is no fun and no picnic to get into. But your home games are Cardinals, Raiders, Broncos, Texans, Jets, Patriots, 49ers, Chiefs. That's a pretty good home schedule. The road games are difficult, but I get why their win total number is 9.5. I understand that philosophy from the books and saying, look, they have a shorter odd to win the Super Bowl than the Eagles do, but they might only win 9 games. Like they can get into the playoffs at 9-8, be a wild card team, and potentially wind up in the Super Bowl at SoFi Stadium in their home stadium. We've talked so much about the Rams playing at home. I mean, could you imagine if it was the Chargers and the Rams at SoFi playing in the Super Bowl? How wild that would be. Might be the first time in sports history, in professional sports history, that both teams that play in the one building play their championship game in that building. And yeah, I mean, Jimmy football, by week 14, the Niners could be toast. 100% that could happen. I really do think if you're a Charger fan, a lot's riding on Justin Herbert. Like a lot is riding on his arm and his ability to stay healthy and Harbaugh to maximize. They want to run the football. We'll talk about the pro football story of the day here in a second. They want to run the football this year. They really do want to focus in on the running game. They've got some weapons. David Njoku is a new tight end that they've brought over. They got Alec Ingold now to come in here. Ladd McConkey obviously is a tremendous weapon for them in the receiving game. Quentin Johnson's a great weapon in the red zone, but they don't really have a burner over the top, right? They got Justin Herbert who's going to spread the ball around, but they want to run the ball. Mike McDaniel is now their offensive coordinator. They want to run the ball. And like he did in Miami, they want to run the ball. And he is a guy who might be just a brilliant offensive mind and a really crappy head coach, but he can run the offense. And that's been basically what Harbaugh has done, is handed the keys to the offense over to Mike McDaniel and say, go do it. Let's see what happens. Big year for Justin Herbert for sure. If you guys are heading to Vegas and you have not signed up for this contest yet, you should. It is absolutely a ton of fun. Circa Million is a $6 million guarantee prize pool. A $1 million first place prize, a coveted blue jacket if you win the thing. Circa Survivor will be at least $20 million. We'll talk to Tom from Vegas Football Proxy on Friday about what I was told at Bet Bash, where the target is $27 million now for Circa Survivor, which is unbelievable to be true. Grandissimo's popped up with the $100,000 entry. You must be in Vegas, but you could to sign up, but you can play from anywhere, Reno included. You just need to hire a proxy. We've got one of those for you. And remember that Circa never takes a rake. All the money, if it goes over the guarantee, goes right back into the prize pool for you to potentially win it. For more information, go to circasports.com. As I mentioned, Mike McDaniel is now the offensive coordinator for the LA Chargers. He was asked yesterday about his philosophy for rotating his running backs, and he said, we're going to play the hot hand at running backs. He straight up talked to the fantasy owners, which I think is so funny when coaches do this because it's so on the nose. No one really does this, but more coaches should do this. There's good news and bad news, fantasy owners, McDaniel said. Good news is I see all 3 of those guys, all 3 of their running backs currently, Amari and Hampton, Vidal and Mitchell. I see all 3 of those guys playing and producing at a very high level. The bad news is I can't tell you which games those are. Kind of play the hot hand once you're into games. Specifically, I'll use all 3 of those guys probably every game. The relative ratio that will be based on opponent and what we're asking the guys to do. So if you are playing fantasy, what Mike McDaniel just told you to do, don't draft a Charger running back. Okay. They're going to have it's by committee and whoever is hot. Okay. So don't be drafting a Chargers running back anytime soon, because he's telling you point blank, hey, we're going to ride a hot hand, and maybe one guy emerges and that's a good guy to bet on. if you're a Charger fan, Charger better, whatever, backer, whatever you want to do. Maybe that works in like week 4 or 5, and Amari Hampton is now the guy, and so he's the one you want to bet on, but you don't want to draft a running back for the Chargers because Mike is being pretty clear here. He's not interested. he's not interested coming up here on that. So wild deal last night at Rogers Center for Toronto and the Boston Red Sox. But the good news with Blue Jays is it didn't matter in the end. They won the game 2-1. News of the industry. Okay, news of the industry. Connecticut's in the news, actually, for doing something positive. A judge has rejected every major cow sheet argument in a comprehensive ruling against sports contracts. A federal court in Connecticut denied cow sheet an injunction that would have protected it from enforcement from the state gaming board in Connecticut. This is interesting now, rejecting every argument on almost every possible question in one of the most comprehensive rulings against prediction markets to date. U.S. District Court for the District of Connecticut on Monday denied Cauchy an injunction that would have protected it from Connecticut's enforcement wing for claiming that sports contracts are sports gambling. The two main questions, like other state versus prediction market lawsuits, are whether or not the Commodities Exchange Act, CEA, preempts state gambling laws. And if it does, whether sports event contracts can be classified as swaps in order to be covered by the preemption. Cauchy argued yes to both, and it needs to win both to win an injunction to shield it from enforcement from Connecticut's gambling wing. A court ruled against Cauchy on one argument. It wouldn't need to find the decision on the other. Yet the judge, Vernon D. Oliver, ruled against Cauchy on both arguments, even noting that he did not need to make a decision on both questions in order to issue an opinion. Even within each question, Judge Oliver found multiple reasons to side with Connecticut over Cauchy. Does this change anything? Well, it's just another story in the long list of losses for prediction market companies against states. Novig sued Massachusetts yesterday in a lawsuit that looks very similar to other prediction markets because Novig is now a 50-state prediction market company, and Novig would like to be able to operate in football season. So what Novig did was they sued Mass preemptively because they knew Mass would come after them. And so now it's at least 90 days until their court case is going to be heard with the lawsuit against Massachusetts, which means they're going to be able to operate in the state for most of the NFL football season. And that is what they are looking for. They sued 4 other states, I believe. It was 3 other states that they sued as well for the same purpose. Because you can have a football season and make a lot of money right now in the prediction market space. And if you lose, you lose. But all the prediction market companies, DraftKings and FanDuel included, are all tied together with this about whether or not they can offer sport event contracts. Prediction markets are not going away. I think that needs to be pushed really heavily by a lot of people because I think there's a question about all prediction markets. That's not the case. It is only the sport side of things. It is not all. Whether you want to bet on the price of soybeans or you want to predict the weather in California, those things will exist long after this fight. It entirely comes down to whether or not you can bet on the Red Sox and the Blue Jays game tonight, on Kalshi, on Polymarket, on Novig. That is the conversation. Once that's done, those companies can still operate. And I think that's why you've seen DraftKings and FanDuel and other big sportsbook properties go ahead and launch prediction markets because they're going to be available for people, and they won't be bet like they are now, but they'll be available for people to wager on those markets, elections, as long as those aren't banned, for the upcoming midterms, for the upcoming presidential election. Those are things that will happen in 50 states, and no one's going to court to stop that. Like, no one is suing Polymarket or Kalshi for anything other than stopping them from offering sport event contracts. Those swaps is what everybody wants them to stop offering. It's 90% of the handle. So clearly the business goes away, and clearly the overall evaluation changes dramatically. But Kalshi is not going away. Now, they're going to have to find different things to offer, but they're not going to be out of business per se. So I think that needs to be talked about a lot more, because I think there is this level of like, Kalshi is going to disappear. When the Supreme Court takes the case, Kalshi is going to disappear. That's not the case, okay? These guys are too big to fail. They aren't going anywhere. The question is going to be, what are they allowed to offer? Period. What are they allowed to offer? And if they're allowed to offer what they currently are offering, okay, that changes a lot. But if they lose sports, you're not going to see the advertisements. You're not going to see anything. I read an article this morning from from Jay Snowden of Penn, who believes that this football season is going to be an arms race, unlike anything we have seen since 2017 and 2018, right at the start of legalization for sports gambling, where these companies are trying to acquire as many shows as they can possibly acquire. It's kind of funny. No one's called my number yet, which